It's our first service and our canner's already running late. It's not good, huh? Oh, there he is. Keep on playing. Before we go live, just remember that it's still a virtual service, so the prayer book is still virtual, so just sit back and relax and listen to the words. For Kaddish, that's okay. It's on page 43 or 44, okay? But enjoy the service, okay? You guys enjoy him. So fall asleep with me. You guys can laugh still. It's okay. That was a good joke, right? No. Okay.
Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing together, Hine Mato. Hine Mato Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Mato Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Mato Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Mato Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Mato Umanaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
We enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout their long history and their endless wanderings, it has endured. This synagogue, it's a beacon of truth, of love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayers. I guess I have to practice looking at the camera and looking at the congregation for the first time in a year, but we continue with our candlelight blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של Shabbat.
For those who are able, we rise together for Kiddush.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
In case you're still wondering, it's still a COVID cup. We're just pretending to drink wine. Please be seated. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure, but what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand and wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world is our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, and day of peace. And we continue with Lecha Dodi.
דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך תשמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו בני אלחכים, מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשב בתחילה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We rise together to greet Shabbat HaMelkah.
Boi v'shalom ateret malakam besimcha uvtohola toch emunei am segulam. Boi chala lechandon dili kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lechandon dili kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, and to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise at each morning and night. You renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We continue with our Chetzi Kaddish.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו amen.
Are you ready?
I think so.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Paul, you ready? I'm ready. I'm not going to say you all. We're from Michigan still. Are you guys ready? Are you sure? Positive? You guys ready to pray? Let's stand and do it. Come on, we can do it.
Are you ready to pray? We're ready to pray. Are you ready to pray?
Yes, we're ready to pray.
Are we ready to pray? Yes, we're ready to pray. Let's pray. Okay. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam vaed. Are we ready to pray? Yes, we're ready to pray. Are we ready to pray? Yes, we're ready to pray. Are we ready to pray? Yes, we're ready to pray. Okay, let's pray.
I think we're good. Please be seated. We continue with Ma'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates and thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling away light from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night from one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Amen. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to turns to night. Borei Yom Balayla, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, Golel Or Mipnei Choshech, Bechoshech Mipnei Or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. We continue with Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amecha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbeinu uvkumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נחגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Inside joke. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. We continue with our song of redemption, our Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, אדוני מלוך לעולם באין. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, זה אלי אנו ואמרו, אדוני מלוך לעולם באין. יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that when we lie down in peace, raise us up doing your will. We can continue with Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, בעמיתנו שומרנו לחיים. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Mehamidenu shomreinu Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamidenu shomreinu
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted forever, a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue with this Shamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer might not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. We rise together for tefillah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find its purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. We continue. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of all lands. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of thy name hallow every home and every heart. Praise are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. And we continue with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We take a few moments for silent prayer. שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. We are at that moment in our service where we take time to think of those in our community, those loved ones, those friends, those who mean so much to us, those who are in need of strength of body or spirit, and something we haven't done in a year. If you'd like to say a name out loud, please do so as my eyes meet yours. We still can hear you with your max on, it's okay. We also think of Rose Anderson, Linda Applebaum, Harriet Bagby, Cindy Bailey, Katie Bates, Harold Seitlin, Deborah Chargois, Sunita Costa, Marie Cohen, Helene Davidson, Hannah Lillian Fox, Elaine Gross, Josie Hatfeld, Bart Kolber, Wayne Lewis, Elizabeth Morgan, Jan Milet, Beth Scher, Chrissy St. Charles, Mitch Schneiderkraut, Elena Stern, Adam Terrell, John Olhar, Jesse Weisberg, Elisa Rosemore Whitehead, Maisie Wright and Teddy Wright, and Edgar Zimmerman. For those names mentioned out loud and for those names that are still in our hearts, we continue with our Misha Berach.
Of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
So the first of the month, for those who have been watching at home, this is when I will, in a bit, read a story. The first Shabbat of the month is our family Shabbat, which we have more family-themed music. And in a bit, I'll read this incredible story. For our adults here, there will be a test. For our kids watching at home, no test. It's my first week back. It's first year back. Some jokes, please, some laughs. But I think it's important to acknowledge the moment for tonight. I think it was nearly a year ago we were in the president's board meeting having an executive session with Dr. Cohn, and he took a call from one of the infectious disease doctors in our community. I'm sure you know who that is, about the nature of COVID-19. At this moment, we as a leadership had to make the first difficult decision. That was to cancel our gala, and we had incredible lay leaders who have done tirelessly effort to come up with this great Western theme. But the other painful decision, which was a first at Temple Emanu-El, that was to suspend in-person worship. And for many of us, we were shocked and horrified with the idea that so many of our regular congregants who come here Friday evenings to get away from the difficulties of the real world, just to pray for an hour and to be in this magical space, we decided out of your best interest to take this away with the theory of pikuach nefesh. Safeguarding one's life is more important than the observance of Jewish law. And I'm proud of that decision and proud of our leadership. But at that moment, I never envisioned it would be a year. And I remember talking to a B'nai Mitzvah family, talking about her bat mitzvah in May. I thought, we'll be okay. And after all, I was 100% wrong. I can't imagine what it's been like for so many of you that are here with us, and for those who still are watching at home, not to be here in this space. So many of you, you have your own seats that you've been sitting at for so many years, and your new seat became your couch. I'm proud that with our task force, with their patience, their tenacity, their ability to pivot, they made, once again, the right decision to allow in-person service gradually with the beauty of vaccines. On behalf of the leadership and the clergy and senior staff, we thank you enough for your patience. We have no doubt it's been frustrating with sound and videos, but you stuck with us. We engaged at new levels, but different levels. But we learned so much about ourselves, our strengths, and our limitations. But we learned to be better at being clergy. We learned about listening and understanding and isolation and loneliness. And as we welcome you back inside these sacred halls, Ken and I want to thank you for allowing us to be your stewards in this holy place, making sure that the past year it was filled with spirituality, it was filled with compassion and love, even as with you are still at home. And the last question before I get to the story for kids at home, some of you still liked watching Shabbat services because you could have your scotch or other fantastic beverage at home. The task force is going to nod. That's still okay. Just don't briefly take off your mask. I'm just kidding. But this year for Simchas Torah, we will have a bar back there. Is that okay? No. Okay, thumbs up. Okay, but anyway, and here we go. Actually, last week was Purim, and we were commanded to get so inebriated where we don't know the difference between Mordechai, blessed be Mordechai, and cursed be Haman. So, but you have to do it with a rabbi. So, okay, here we go. At the end of this month, we will celebrate Passover, and I just want to read briefly a great story for our kids at home. On a certain night each year of winter, in the passing the world is warming up of green for springs, Jews celebrate a joyful holiday, Passover or Pesach. The house is sparkling clean and everyone is dressed up with their new dishes and glasses. Everybody has a glass of wine to drink, or grape juice, and a book. The Haggadah, this Passover story. On the Seder plate, the center of the table are special foods not eaten on ordinary nights. At Seder tables around the world, children ask, what are we celebrating? Why these special foods? The first question, why is this night different from all other nights? And if we turn the page, you can see two different pictures. Isn't that cool? Our mothers and fathers answers, long ago we were slaves. We had to do hard work and had bitter sorrow, but God let us free from Egypt. We celebrate to give our thanks and remember how we won our freedom. We do more than remember. We tell how it happened, eat the foods, and drink the wine or grape juice so we can feel the story. Each one of us is free because what happened in Egypt. So the Passover Seder is a feast of welcome, of family, friends coming together with gratitude. Let all who are curious come see how to celebrate. We welcome Prophet Elijah to enter and drink a cup of wine, not too much wine. He has to go to a lot of Seders. The shank bone on the Seder plate reminds us of limbs the ancient Jews used to offer to God. The roasted egg on the plate means the birth of a new season and a new life. It happened this way. God chose Moses to go to Pharaoh, and he said, it's wrong to keep anyone in slavery. Let my people go. But Pharaoh didn't listen. God sent down plagues to frighten the Egyptians so Pharaoh would listen. First, he turned the rivers to blood so the fish died on the water. No one could drink. Then came frogs, lice, and gnats to torment the people. Sickness that killed all the livestock. Boils broke out on everyone's skin. Hail, lightning destroyed trees and crops, and locusts ruined whatever growing things were left. And then God sent a thick darkness and covered the land for 3 days. With each plague, Pharaoh promised to free the Jews, but when the plague was over, he went back on his word and said no. Finally, God sent a 10th plague, the death of the firstborn son. It was the night the Jews' spring holiday sacrificed a lamb to God. God said, "Dip a leafy branch in lamb's blood and sprinkle a few drops at your doorpost. That way the angel of death will recognize you and pass over your house." And the Jews did, and the angel of death passed over their houses. Pharaoh was awakened in the middle of the night by a great cry. When he saw what happened, he wept and told the Jews, "For your God is too strong. Leave Egypt this very night and be gone by morning." The Jews packed and hurried and went into the wilderness ready to go. Back in Egypt, once again, Pharaoh changed his mind. He sent his army to bring the Jews back and made them slaves once more. We could not return going back to slavery. God told Moses to raise his hand, and he did, and that's how we get our redemption, the miracle at the Red Sea. When the Egyptian soldiers tried to follow with their horses, the walls came crashing down on them. At last, Jews were safe. In the years spent in the wilderness with Moses, they learned how to be a community, living with just laws and treasuring freedom. On all other nights, we eat bread or matzah, but tonight we eat only matzah. When Pharaoh ordered the Jews to be gone by the morning, they were in such a rush, so they only made enough dough, which we get matzah. And at the Seder, we eat matzah, which is unleavened bread, who tastes as our ancestors ate on that incredible flight. This is the bread of the affliction. Our sorrow we eat with joy. It is the bread of freedom too. On other nights, we eat all kinds of herbs. Why tonight do we only eat bitter herbs? We eat bitter herbs because it was bitter being slaves. The work was long and hard. We eat the bitter herbs along with the harosis on the Seder plate, the nuts and apples, mixed together that represents the sweetness of hope, but it looks like mortar the Jews in Egypt used to make bricks. On other nights, we eat herbs without dipping them into anything. Why tonight do we dip them twice into salt water? First, we dip the greens, which reminds us of spring and hope. We dip the herbs a second time to remember the angel of death passed over our house. Because Pharaoh was stubborn and refused to free the Jews, many of the Egyptians died of the plagues as well as the Red Sea. When we drink wine or grape juice at the Seder table, we spill some drops to show that our joy is not complete and pure. It's also about that we have empathy, and we don't take delight when our enemies suffer. Finally, on other nights, we either sitting up or reclining. Why tonight do we all recline? When we were slaves in Egypt, we worked hard and long in the pain and weariness. We could not do this as free people. Now we can feast together as free men and women and children, lean back and eat good things at Seder. We recline because we are no longer slaves. The Passover Seder, we remember that terrible and then wonderful time, but in the remembering and the wonder that happened to us. We were slaves and now we are free. Together we wish by next year's Seder, I should also add, we'll be together, all people living in slavery in a place of the world, will pass over to freedom. Shabbat Shalom. And I should say it's next year and hopefully a post-COVID world that we'll have our junior choir, which Cantor Whitner's eagerly looking forward to do, and kids will sing. And so something's new here at Temple Emanu-El. So just imagine me reading the story with a bunch of kiddos out in front. I'll have a much better effect, I promise. And for those who are able, we rise together for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני ושמו אחד.
It's hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once broke wholeness to our life have gone, and not by memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those whom we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become, yet no one is really alone. And those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words as what they did as part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadows of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, and whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds its purpose. On this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of Ralph Allen, Edith Pierman Allen, Herbert J. Baum, Frederick Berman, Harry Burno, Abraham Bressler, Rose Waxman Bressler, Aubrey Elton Buckwalter, Herbert Kane, Isaac E. Capilouto, Judge Marvin Cherner, Norman J. Cohen, Victor H. Cohen, Sylvia Cooley, Bessie G. Cooley, Phyllis Crandall, Isidore M. Davis, Martha Marty Shalnut Dillard, Nelia Einstein, Nathan Epsman, Gladys Epstein, Ben F. Ezekiel, Morris Feldman, David Fleischer, Alex Friedman, Mort Gilbert, May Goldberg, Howard Goldstein, Nathan Goldstein, Herman Gottlieb, Michael Hirsch, Jacqueline Jaspan, Jack Caden, Nathan Kraselsky, Lena Krentzman, Isaac Ike Cronenberg, David Joel Landau, Carrie Lazarus, Rebecca Malkov Leader, Anna Levine, Jacob M. Levine Sr., Abe London, Minnie Wheel Loveman, Joseph H. Loveman, Ella L. Mack, Beatrice L. Mazer, David Mitnick, Julia Weintraub Moore, Harry Moore, Lena W. Meyer, Lucille Oster, Abraham Purley, Philip Pincus, Saul Rittenbaum, Joseph D. Rosenberger Sr., Pearl Rothman, Ben Sag, Joseph Sachs, Louis Silberman, David Sperling, Harvey D. Spielholtz, Milton Turner, Edward Wald, Rosin Lori Wheel, Oscar Weinstein, Sadie Jurgen, and Saul Zolman. A heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Ruth S. Engel, mother of Bill Engel, Lee Lichter, daughter of Robert and Dorothy Unger, wife of Steve, of Evan, Jill, and grandmother of Max and Jacob, and sister-in-law of Murray. Norman Morgan, uncle of Mark Robinson, and Judith Ratner, mother of Susan Hardwood, grandmother of Judd and Lynn Raviv.
Sheila and Paul Klein.
May all their memories forever be a blessing, and we rise together as a united congregation in our Mortar's Kaddish. Yigadal v'Yikadash Shemei Rabbah, v'Yomad Yivrach Reotei v'Amlich Malchutei, v'Chayachon of Yomechon, uv'Chayet Dekol Beit Yisrael, Bagala U'Izman Kariv v'Yamru.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam Olamei Almaya, Yit Barach, Yit Shabach, Yit Ba'ar, Yit Romam, Yit Naseh, Vita dar, vita le, vita la, Shemei Kudsha, Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata, tushbechata b'nechamata, damin ram bi'oma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. O say shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'imru, amen.
O say shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, me'imeru, amen.
Before we conclude with Adon Olam, I want to bring up Dr. Al Cohen, our immediate past president and one of our COVID Task Force 19 members. First, we want to thank him and his team for doing such an incredible job this past year and getting us back to this moment. And he just wants to have a few final words with tonight's, I guess, dismissal.
Dismissal. So the best part of Shabbat is smooching and kissing after Shabbat. Not quite there yet. Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and thanks for all being here for the first Shabbat, sort of as we figure out how to open the doors a little bit wider. The dismissal from the temple will be the right side of the sanctuary will sort of go first. The bottleneck is going to be the stairwell. So the front part of the right side will go towards the front doors. The back part of the room, please exit through the back doors. We'll let that group get down the stairs, and we'll dismiss the left side of the room. Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Yes, sir. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, B'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Be'acharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Nora Adon Olam, Ve'hu Haya, Ve'hu Hove, Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, B'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni, Lehamshilo Lehachbira Adon Olam, Beli Reshit, Beli Tachlit, Belo Ha'oz Ve'hamisra Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, B'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Ve'hu Eli, V'chai Goali, B'tzur Chevli, Be'et Zara Adon Olam, Ve'hu Nisi, Umanos Li, Menat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Adon Olam, Asher Malach, Asher Emkol, Yetzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, B'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, Beyado Afkid Ruchi, Be'et Tishan Be'ayra Adon Olam, Ve'hu Ili Geviati, Adonai li velo ira Adon Olam. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.